they're so impossible to get right now. Everything online won't be shipped out until May or mid-April, and I found it this morning, so I've been kind of a little happier today than the rest of the week. I'll take it. Okay, so this is Story Window, and we're going to read A Happy Disposition by Hans Christian Andersen. This is tale number 62. And I have no idea what it'll be about. Let's jump in. From my father I have inherited a happy disposition, a cheerful soul. And who was my father? Well, it is really not of any great importance. But he was lively, chubby, round, and plump, both inside and out. He personified the very opposite of his profession. And what was his profession? If one told that in the very beginning of a story, I am afraid that the reader would go no further. He would put the book aside, saying, "That is much too depressing to read about." Yet, my father was not an executioner. No, on the contrary, his profession often let him assume a position ahead of the very best society. This elevated post was his by right. He had to be in front of bishops and princes. He was the driver of a hearse. Well, now it has been said. But this I can guarantee, that anyone who saw my father, in his black cloak and three-cornered hat, sitting high up on a death stagecoach, would not have been reminded of sorrow and the grave. For my father's face was round and smiling like the sun. It was a face that said without opening his mouth, "Don't worry, everything is all right. Everything is for the best." It is from him I have my happy disposition and the habit of visiting the churchyard on my afternoon walk. Such a place is not really depressing if you have a happy disposition and a cheerful soul. I also read the Copenhagen News just as he did. I am not so young anymore. I have neither wife nor children or library, but I do subscribe to the Copenhagen News. It is sufficient for me as it was for my father. It is useful and contains all the news of real importance, such as who is preaching in which church on Sunday, and who is preaching in which new book on weekdays. It is filled with ads if you happen to need a new house, a servant, new clothes, or food for your larder. It tells you who is having a sale and who has been sold, who is holding a charity ball, and who was charitable enough to dance at it. It is also filled with the kind of sweet verses that do not offend anyone. Then there are the personal ads, marriages and engagements. Yes, one can live very happily reading the Copenhagen News, and one would even lie more comfortably in one's grave if one's coffin were lined with it. It is softer than wood shavings. Yes, the Copenhagen News and the churchyard have always been the most edifying places for my mind to wander. They have been the bathing establishments of my soul, so to speak, and have kept me ever in good humor. Now anybody can let his mind wander through the Copenhagen News, but please accompany me on a stroll through the churchyard. Let us choose a day when the sun is shining and trees and bushes are green. Each gravestone is like a book on a library shelf. You can only read the title, which usually tells everything and nothing about the book, but I know the stories. I know them from my father or learned them myself. I have written them down in my grave book. Here all the secrets of the graves are revealed. It is a useful and amusing book. Here we are in the churchyard. Behind that little iron fence is the grave of a very unhappy man. There used to be a rose bush near his grave. Near his tombstone, but it died. The ivy that covers it now does not properly belong there, but to the grave next to it. When he was alive, he was, as the world calls it, well off. But he was a very unhappy man, and why? Because he took everything too seriously, especially art. If he went to the theater, Could he enjoy the performance of a fine play with his whole heart and soul? No. He would find that the lighting was not quite right, the moon was a bit too bright, the stage designer had placed a palm tree in a scene taking place in Denmark, or a beech tree in one from Norway. Sounds like me. But do these things really matter? After all, a play is just amusement. Why worry about it? But he did. He could not help it. The audience applauded either too much or too little. The wood is wet. It won't catch fire, he would say, and turn around to watch the other spectators. Then he would notice that they laughed at the wrong places, at something they shouldn't have laughed at, and that irritated him. He was a very unhappy person, and now he rests in his grave. Here is buried a man who was both happy and fortunate. He came from a very good family, and that he was fortunate, for otherwise nothing would ever have come of him. But everything in this world is so wisely arranged that it cannot help but put one in a good humor. He was, so to speak, embroidered both in front and in back, and placed in the parlor, in the same manner that a valuable bell rope, decorated with pearls, is hung there. Behind the showy bell rope there is real rope, which you cannot see but which rings the bell. He had a big, strong rope behind him that, unseen and unheard, did good service, and is, as a matter of fact, still doing it behind another embroidered bell rope. Yes, everything is so wisely arranged that it is easy to be cheerful. He rests a man. This story is really too sad. He lived 67 years, and during all that time had only one ambition, to say something witty. He finally thought of something that in his own opinion was witty, and that made him so happy that he died. Of a stroke. He died from happiness because he had thought of something witty to say. And the irony of it was that no one ever heard it. I am sure he cannot even rest in his grave after all. It might be a lunchtime joke, and according to popular belief, the dead can only rise around midnight. Imagine him telling it then. Nobody would laugh, and he would return to his silent tomb. Oh, it is a very unhappy grave. Next to him lies a woman who was so miserly while she lived that she used to go out in her backyard at night and meow like a cat so that her neighbors would think that she kept a pet. That is how tight she was. And here rests an old maid of a good family. She never attended a party without performing. She used to sing, "Mi manca la voce," and that was the only time she ever told the truth. Here is buried a maiden of a different nature. Whenever love's canary bird twittered, she put the fingers of common sense in her ears. She wanted to get married, but she never did. That is what one might call an everyday story. It could have been told more brutally, but let the dead sleep in peace. Under this large tombstone lies a widow. She had the gall of an owl instead of a heart. She used to search out failings of friends and acquaintances with the pains of a reformer visiting a slum. This is what is called a family plot. Even in death they keep as close as they did in life. If the whole world and the newspapers said that a certain thing had happened in a certain way, and then their youngest child came from the school and said, "I have heard a different story," they would agree with him, for he was part of the family. If their cock crowed in the middle of the night, then they would declare that it was morning, even though all the clocks and night watchmen of the city said it was midnight. The great Goethe ends his Faust with the sentence, "Can be continued." Our little walk in the cemetery can be continued too. I come here often. If one of my friends or enemies makes life a little too hard for me, then I go out to the cemetery and find a nice unused plot, and there I bury him or her. There they can lie peacefully and harmlessly until I resurrect them as new and better human beings. The story of their lives I write down in my grave book, seen from my point of view naturally. This is what everyone else should do. Instead of being annoyed when someone harms you, you should bury him immediately and then write his obituary. Keep cheerful. Read the Copenhagen News, that paper which people are allowed to write themselves as long as the journalists hold the pen, and remember to visit the cemeteries. When my own time comes and my life has to be bound in a tombstone, write this inscription on it, a happy disposition. That was my story. The end. That was a happy disposition by Hans Christian Andersen. What did you think? I think what he was trying to say at the end there, that was when somebody annoyed him, he would bury them in a grave and write an obituary in his head to make him feel better, and then resurrect them when he was feeling a little better about it all. Which maybe you want to do to some of the folks that you're quarantined with, or you can also bury your worries in an unmarked grave and write its obituary and let it go. It's good to let go some of your worries, because if you worry too long, it starts to eat away at you and lower your immune system. So it's good to let go and forget for a little while. You're allowed to do it. I'm telling you, you're allowed. Okay. Today is Sunday. We'll see how horrible life is in the next couple days. If not, we'll just read on Wednesday. Okay? Everyone still good? I just finished reading. I'm sorry. But I'll be back. And we'll read again. For now, good night, good day, good morning, and goodbye. Hang in there, y'all. Everything's gonna be okay. For the most part.
For the most part.
Bye-bye.
Bye.